from Southern Maryland's weather leader. This is a JB Weather Report.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm forecaster John Bordash with you here in the Storm Center this evening. I wanted to give a special forecast update here, really focused on Hurricane Ida and the really life-threatening, significant threat it poses for the central Gulf Coast. I know locally in Southern Maryland, we do have a couple of scattered showers and thunderstorms moving across the region this evening, and like we mentioned earlier, that'll be possible through much of the overnight hours. But I really want to focus on Hurricane Ida here, as this is probably going to be somewhat of a historic storm that's going to be making landfall in just about 4 to 8 hours here across portions of the central Gulf Coast. What we're looking at right now is look at infrared satellite imagery. This is a version of satellite that allows us to see how cold the cloud tops are. The brighter colors are indicative of higher cloud tops, which tells us that's likely where we have thunderstorm development. You can see the big ball of moisture right now moving across Cuba. This would be Hurricane Ida. Let's go ahead and give this a pause. And let's really kind of come in here on satellite, zoom on in. This is Hurricane Ida right now. It is a very strong storm. And it right now sits at Category 1 strength, winds of 80 miles per hour. And this was a strength we weren't expecting Ida to get to this early in the forecast period. We expected that to happen over the Gulf of Mexico, but it has now moved across parts of Cuba, some mountainous parts of Cuba, and this is likely going to be posing a significant threat now, as there really isn't much in its way to prevent it from rapidly strengthening here over the next 36, maybe even the next 48 hours. Let's go ahead and take a look at the latest forecast. This is as of the 5 o'clock advisory. At 8 o'clock, we've got updated stats. Not too much change there. The track has stayed the same. So as we take a look at this, what we're going to notice is that the National Hurricane Center is forecasting for this storm to really take off in intensity, likely overnight tonight, getting near or at Category 2 strength, and then by tomorrow afternoon, likely getting to major hurricane status. That would be a Category 3 storm or higher. We have 5 total categories. It is very rare to get a Category 5 storm, and I definitely think that that potential is on the table with this storm. I think we could be talking about the potential to see this storm rapidly strengthen in a way we haven't seen, at least so far this season. And the National Hurricane Center forecast actually takes us up to a mid-range Category 4 storm with winds of 140 miles an hour across parts of the central Gulf Coast. And we're going to have to really watch this. And the timing, I think, will be critical. How we time this up with low tide, with high tide, I think will be critically important to really the extent of impact we see at the coast. And this won't just be a coastal event. I really do think that this is going to spread impacts well inland. I think much of southeastern Louisiana, parts of Mississippi are going to be seeing some pretty high impacts here. And I think that's going to be really a big story as we head through Sunday. Then if we look at the cleanup Monday going into Tuesday. And these sorts of storms tend to have a special place with me. Hurricane Katrina was the storm that got me interested in meteorology about 16 years ago. And it's kind of ironic. The 16-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina is Sunday, and that is when we think this storm is going to likely make its landfall across parts of southeastern Louisiana. So let's go ahead. Let's move it on forward here. We currently have hurricane warnings in effect for every parish here. There are parishes in Louisiana. All the parishes here shaded in purple. This is going to include the entire New Orleans metro area. This is going to go ahead and include the Baton Rouge area as well. So a lot of these regions going to be under hurricane warnings. Tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches extend outside of this. We're likely going to see a couple more updates to this map as we head throughout the day tomorrow. So I would stay alert to those, especially for any interest down here. I know a couple of areas down here, especially along the coast and parts of southern Louisiana, have already issued some evacuation orders. The city of New Orleans, I believe the way they're doing this is areas outside of the levee protection system have that mandatory evacuation. That the part of the city that is protected by the levee system, it's only a voluntary evacuation. My understanding is they would have done a mandatory evacuation for the city. The issue is there just isn't enough time to do, I guess, a contraflow type flow of traffic out of the city to evacuate the city. So they're really telling people if you aren't able to evacuate anytime soon, you're going to want to just hunker down and really kind of ride out the storm, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best message to be sending. This is a look at the storm surge graphic, and we're going to get more into what's leading into this and the different facets of this forecast, but this is something I want to point out. This is a product that the National Hurricane Center has put out, and it gives you an idea of the potential for storm surge across a specific area. They're forecasting upwards of a 10 to 15 foot storm surge here across southern parts of Louisiana, and that would definitely cause some damage, especially inland. Most single-story houses are not that tall, so that will cause some issues as we head well inland here. As we continue to push this on forward, I think that there is an extreme threat from Hurricane Ida for southern portions of Louisiana, parts of southeastern Mississippi here, as the storm moves onshore, bringing a rain threat, which we will talk about. I think the rain threat's actually rather significant with this, a storm surge threat, and a wind threat. And impacts are likely going to be again sometime on Sunday here across portions of southern Louisiana. We're talking about a high threat outside of that as you move further inland, but these impacts are still going to be rather significant. I'll update this map tomorrow, and I think we'll need to add in a fifth category here for impacts, because I think these impacts are going to be very high across parts of coastal Louisiana, as this is going to be a rather strong storm. If we push this on forward again, this is a look at some of our hurricane models, and we'll talk a little bit about this. These are the models we use to forecast where a storm is going to go, and they let us see their take on intensity as well. So this is just looking at that track. Many of our hurricane models are in very strong agreement, taking the storm in about 48 hours or so onshore of southeastern Louisiana. The one part of this forecast I definitely want to touch on, though, is going to be the intensity forecast with this storm. And right now, sitting at a Category 1 storm, many of our models now bring this up to Category 4 strength within a matter of 36 hours. And the way to read this chart is each individual line here represents a model's forecast strength, with that x-axis representing time out in hours. So in about 12 hours, you can see where all the different lines are. The y-axis there would be representative of wind speed. So the higher up you go, stronger the wind, the further out you go, the further out in time. So many of our models here within the next 1 to 2 days bring this up to Category 4 strength, and I really wouldn't rule out Category 5 strength there. Parts of the Gulf of Mexico are very warm, which we will touch on in just a second. Let's take a look over to our futurecast, see exactly what it is showing here. This is the model for right around now, and definitely not doing a bad job at all. You can see the legend up top here showing you what the wind speeds are. As you move forward here, you'll see additional colors higher, or colors that aren't on this legend representing wind speeds higher than 100 miles per hour. But right now we are seeing winds. This model it underplays the wind speeds a little bit, so it's kind of hard to read it exactly, but giving you the general idea that we do have the hurricane right now moving over parts of southeastern, or over parts of Cuba right now. So let's go ahead and move this forward here, and what you will see as we head throughout the day tomorrow, the hurricane very quickly intensifies. And let's just zoom in here, and you can see the wind flow with the winds twisting and turning around the center here. Our model right now is estimating winds getting up near 90 miles an hour. That would be a strong Category 1 storm. The lesson I've learned from this is, because this isn't a hurricane-specific model, this will underdo wind speed by a decent amount. So this is probably much more like a Category 2 or a Category 3 storm. But this gives you an idea with the placement, which is really what I'm using this for. But you can see as we push this on forward here, let's get this over towards about Sunday. Once we get into these red colors out here, this would be tropical storm force winds. And once you get in past this white color, once you get into like these pinks in here, that would be representative of hurricane force winds. And we see those beginning to push on shore as early as Sunday morning here. As we continue to push this on forward, you can really see making landfall as we head into Sunday evening. I know that the arrows can get a little distracting at points, but you can see really where this brings it onshore. It'd be right on shore here in parts of southern Louisiana. And what I really want to touch on with this graphic is I want you to notice the wind flow here into New Orleans. And I think We have a little too many arrows here. Let's go ahead and get rid of some of them. You can see that the general wind flow here is going to be onshore, moving towards the west. And what that's going to allow to happen is it's going to push water up along. Let's get that off. You're going to get water to really bank right up along the shoreline here, Lake Pontchartrain, up into New Orleans, and really backing up into the canal system. After Hurricane Katrina, they redid the levee system here in parts of New Orleans once they were the majority destroyed during Katrina to withstand the storm surge expected of a Category 3 storm. This could be a little bit stronger than that. So we'll see with this type of a track that's to the south of New Orleans. This puts it in that right front quadrant of the storm, which means higher wind speeds and a greater storm surge threat. And that's going to be my concern with New Orleans. While this storm likely will be like Katrina, with Katrina, Katrina hit Cat 5 status. It was a huge storm. Even though it was a Cat 3 at landfall, it was extraordinarily strong for a Category 3 storm by looking at its pressure values and the immense amount of water it was pushing towards the coast. I don't think this is going to be necessarily like that, but this is giving me a lot of similarities to that type of a setup, and this is going to need to be something that we watch very closely, and this likely makes landfall here as we head into Sunday. Let's take here. I want to actually take you over to why this storm is going to get so strong so fast. So let's bring you on over here. This is a look at sea surface temperatures right now across the basin, across the western Atlantic at least. And what you're going to be able to see here is lots of numbers and lots of bright colors. Typically for hurricane strength, we're looking at water temperatures of at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 26 degrees Celsius. And this map does temperatures by Celsius. And this is over on the tropical tidbit side. So water temperatures well above that across parts of, I want to make sure I get a color you can see here, across the Gulf of Mexico. Much of this water is up near 29, 30, 31 degrees Celsius. Ida right now sits right around here, and its forecast track takes it just like this. That is setting it over some of the warmest water in the Gulf of Mexico, and it is deep warm water. There's going to be lots of fuel here for the storm as it pushes to the north and west. And the reason this storm is moving in this direction is because we have a large area high pressure sitting over the Carolinas, and with the type of flow around high pressure here, it's going to allow to push the storm here into parts of Louisiana. The only two things I can see withholding the storm from intensifying or being a super strong storm at landfall would be what we call an eye replacement cycle. That's one of them. An eye replacement cycle is a process that mature hurricanes go through where they go through a process of trying to replace the eye, the center of circulation, to reorganize it. As it does that, the storm can temporarily get weaker before getting much stronger. If one of those eye replacement cycles happen right at landfall, we'll see the storm come down a little bit in intensity, which would be great news. Additionally, what we could be looking at is the outflow from Hurricane Marty, I believe, over in the Pacific Ocean, making landfall along the Baja California later on this weekend, imposing a little bit of shear. And additionally, we have an upper level low here that's helping to move the storm inland, and that could help to give it a little bit of additional shear. So we'll have to watch that potential with this as we move forward, but I really don't see much that's going to prohibit this storm from taking off quickly. Once it gets into these warm waters, we're going to likely see it rapidly intensify, and the atmospheric conditions likely look very good across the Gulf of Mexico for rapid intensification of the storm to continue. Let's go ahead and take you back on over here. And again, just taking one last look at that track. And it's going to be looking right for parts of Louisiana. What I want to do while that is up actually is bring up our model's depiction of potential rainfall totals. So I'll do that in a second while I let this stay up. I want to make sure I'm on the right thing. That I am. And I want to make sure I'm over at precip. So right now, what our model is doing here is, let's bring it back on over here. This is a look at, again, the future cast here for rainfall totals. we see many rainfall totals in this area getting up over 10 inches. Earlier today, our model was a little bit more uppity with these totals, showing the potential for 15 inches plus of rainfall to come down. We'll see if that actually happens, but our model right now shows the potential of a widespread 5 to 10 inches, locally higher amounts right along that track and just to the west of the track, really showing where we're able to get plenty of rain. So putting this on top of a 10 to 15 foot storm surge going to cause widespread flooding issues, and this is going to be something we have to watch in New Orleans. If those levees are able to stay up and keep the storm surge out, that's great. But in addition to that, we could have rain falling, leading to rainfall based flooding in the system, and the pumps in New Orleans don't work as efficiently as you would think to pump out water that's falling from the sky. I want to say they do about an inch an hour. So if we get one of those heavier bands to sit over New Orleans, we could be looking at a pretty significant situation there. So this is going to be something we have to continue to watch over the next couple of days. This is definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. You'll be able to get more instantaneous and more frequent updates from me and from many others as well, but especially from me on Twitter. So I would definitely recommend you following me over there at JB_weather. That really, that platform is a little bit better for me to get out weather content than Facebook is. I know a large amount of our following is on Facebook, and I appreciate you all for following me there. But I think many people know Facebook is not the best way for weather updates, and I'm just, in the last year and a half, I'm really not a fan of Facebook, but that's a whole nother episode here that I'm not going to get into right now. But you can get my updates over there. This is going to be a high impact system with life-threatening impacts like likely. So any interest in this region, heed all warnings. You're going to want to definitely stay aware. I'm sure this will be a big story as we head through the rest of this weekend and going into early next week. So stay weather aware, especially in this area. What I will do quickly is quickly touch on our weather back home, because I think a couple of you watch and you might be interested, and I believe we are talking about a couple of storms locally. And yeah, we can see, we have scattered areas of rain right now, so stay weather aware for that as well. But I'll have more coverage on that throughout the evening. But stay aware, I'll continue to track Hurricane Ida. I really think this is going to be this season's marquee storm, and this is going to be one of the biggest storms to hit the U.S. in about 15 or 16 years. So stay weather aware, stay alert, and stay informed on this system, as it's going to be ever evolving. But in the meantime, I'm forecaster John Bordash. Thank you for joining me this evening on this special update on Hurricane Ida, and we'll do another one of these tomorrow evening as Ida comes closer to land. Have a nice and safe one, and keep it tuned right here to JB Weather.
Check the forecast anytime online at jbweather.net.